Coming up on Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte, a cool Camaro, but not just any Camaro.
This would be considered a Yenko Tribute car.
A mom, a son, and a British taxi.
You plan to tool to high school on this thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make a first impression in the first day of school.
And if you own a 1924 Nash,
It's very hard to find parts. It's a very rare car.
plus
Gives it the appearance of a fresh cast aluminum piece.
a little paint can go a long way in under the hood. So, shall we turn back the clock?
50s, baby, 50s. It's a surfer wagon.
Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte, starts right now.
Hey everybody, welcome to Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte. I'm Jeff Phelps, and we have come to one of the great weekly cruise-ins that you will find anywhere. We're in Solon, Ohio for their Tuesday night event put on by the rock and roll capital Street Machines. Tonight's theme, Camaros. And we just happen to know a guy who absolutely loves Camaros. Sir, we have a policy on the show to never show the same car twice and never talk to the same owner twice. Technically, we're keeping with that policy here, but you look vaguely familiar to me.
Yeah, you may have seen me before.
Our buddy Mike Velek from RK Motors Charlotte.
How you doing, Jeff?
Good. We also have a policy that we don't do new cars. But we've seen this car before.
Yeah, I think this might have been one of the varmint specials or the...
It was putting away for the winter in one of the under the hood segments.
That was it.
But Mike, at the time, your brand new 2010 Camaro was yellow.
Yes,
What is it now?
It came from the factory Rally Yellow, but
Rally Yellow.
Now it is a House of Colors PBC 30 Sunrise Pearl.
Why would any sane human being take a 2010 brand new Camaro and take it apart and repaint it?
Jeff, you got the one part right, sane. I think it was 2007 or 8, the famous movie Transformers came out. And in that movie, they had the concept 2006 concept Camaro, which at that time, GM had decided was gonna become a reality. So they featured it in that movie, and when I seen the color of that movie car, I was first in line to place my order, trying to get one, and they assured me, oh yeah, it's gonna be that yellow. Well, you seen the yellow I got. So from day one, I had to have this yellow. So there it is.
So you took it apart.
Took it apart.
Piece by piece.
Piece by
Repainted
piece.
it, and now you have the car from the movie.
As close as I could get it at this moment. Still working on it, Jeff. I got some small little things to do. I've got a concept style front bumper in the works. I got most of my other parts done that I wanted done, so we can hold off on that.
Well, congratulations despite the insanity. And I love the fact that this isn't the only Camaro here in the lot tonight that you're very familiar with.
Absolutely.
Mike, right behind your 2010, you have a 1969 Camaro owned by your good buddy Jim.
This would be considered a Yenko Tribute car. Some people call them clones, some people call them tribute cars, you know. It's a car that he's wanted for quite a long time.
Jim, how long have you owned it, and when did all this happen?
I bought the car in 2005 and tore it apart, started tearing it apart in the fall of 2005. And throughout the course of restoring it, that a few things changed. Mike had called me up the one day, and somebody had approached him about selling a 1969 427. That morning, my brother-in-law and I went down and looked at it and had some paperwork with us to check casting numbers, and lo and behold, it was a 1969 Copo 427.
It's the correct motor that would have came in this car, even though it's not a real car. We checked the numbers, and lo and behold.
What a day.
Jim, explain the Yenko part.
Yenko is a dealership even today in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania. Mid to late 60s, they would get cars from GM and they would transplant 427s in them in 1967 and 68. Then in 1969, Don Yenko worked something out with GM through the Copo option where they would come with the 427s already in them. And what people would do is go to the dealership and order a Yenko Camaro that already had a 427 in them. Dealerships would stripe them, tune them, put headers on them, and they take them to the strip.
Factory drag car, pretty much. I mean, it was dealer drag car. Don Yenko had his stripe package that set it apart from the rest. Went out, raced it. Back then, hey, Yenko Chevrolet, Yenko car.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Jim, obviously you like Camaros. You guys worked on this together. Mike did a lot of work on it. What is it about the Camaro that you like so much?
I don't know, the style, the performance of them. They're a light car with a big, powerful motor, and the way they look, I don't know, there's nothing else like them to me.
In the Pony Wars, you were either a Ford guy, you were a Chevy guy, you were a Dodge guy. My dad liked Chevy, I got Chevy, and the more I looked at him, it was like, that was it. The styling was there. Two-door, small, short, fat, bulky, hips. You look at the car, they got hips, they've got personality. This is muscle. Always loved the Camaros. They were just top-notch.
Well, it's good to see one of the early models. Good to see one of the new models, even though the new one was just torn apart for no apparent reason. Keith, as soon as we saw you drive into the lot, we thought, we've got to track down the guy with the Gremlin. You don't look like a guy who would own a Gremlin, Keith.
I've always wanted one, though. Pretty unique looking car. I always thought they were good looking. Everyone else thinks they're ugly. My dad, my grandfather owned two of them. So it gets in the blood.
How long did you have to search for a Gremlin?
A few years.
Did you really?
Yeah.
How come? Are they that scarce?
Yeah. If you want one with a V8 in it. I wanted one that was already done. Didn't want a project car.
Now you just said a V8 in a Gremlin. This car does not look like it should have a V8 in it, but AMC actually made some Gremlin with V8s in them,
Yeah,
correct?
you could originally get them with the 304, was the only V8. And this one's sort of a clone of a Randall Gremlin from Phoenix. They sent them your car, they dropped a 401 in it. They only made 20 of them, I believe.
Only 20 of these?
Yeah.
That seems like way too much power for this size of a car.
Oh, it is.
That makes it fun.
Yeah. You stomp on the gas, it goes sideways.
Where did you find this, and what did the search entail?
I found it in Detroit. Guy had it. It was restored about 6 years ago.
Now, as a Gremlin owner, you guys bond together or something? Because I got to be honest, Keith, it takes a gutsy guy to own a Gremlin in this day and age. Because other than the Pacer, this car may have caught more grief than any other American Motors product.
Yeah, a lot of people point at it. Everyone smiles. I just joined the North Coast AMC Club.
So you guys need to stick together.
Oh yeah.
There's safety in numbers.
Yeah.
Now, is this the only classic you owned? You had to have a Gremlin. This was your entry into the hobby?
Yes.
And you went with a Gremlin.
Yeah.
You're a gutsy man, Keith.
I know.
One thing we've learned here at Cruise In, there's more than one way to buy a classic.
So I told him I would give him what he wanted for it and pay for his flight home if he drove it to me.
Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte. We'll be right back.
Handling classic and high-performance vehicles requires an industry-leading team of experts. Welcome to RK Motors Charlotte. Industry-leading means meticulous attention to detail when servicing every vehicle. It means a consignment service so fine-tuned that a successful sale at maximum value is all but guaranteed. And a rigorous inspection on every vehicle before its tires even touch our sales floor. It's all this and more that make RK Motors Charlotte the industry leader. Visit rkmotorscharlotte.com.
Now back to Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte.
Connor, you take a look around this entire parking lot tonight. My guess is there's only one guy not old enough to drive his car here today, and it's you.
Yes, it is.
15 years old, and you own not just any car here, the only British taxi cab in the entire lot.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did a 15-year-old, with help from Mom getting here tonight, how did a 15-year-old end up with a 1966 Austin taxi cab?
Well, it was originally my grandfather's, and he was looking at some spaces at a warehouse to buy and lease out. And he didn't want the building, but he wanted the car because he fell in love with it.
So he found the car in a building?
Yes.
And thought, forget the building, I want the car.
Yeah.
Does your grandfather collect cars?
Yes, he does.
And he decided this was the one for you?
Yes, it was.
And you're 15?
Yes.
Debbie, which means for now, You're driving.
I'm the chauffeur.
What did you think when your dad said, Connor, I know you can't drive, but here, have a car?
I thought, I wish I would have been that lucky when I was 15 years old, and I know he'll take really good care of it. He just spent a week waxing it in a 3-polish process to bring it down here tonight, so.
I got it probably about 2 years ago.
So you were 13 at the time and you owned a car. I
Yes.
love it. What have you learned about Austin since?
I've learned that they are incredibly rare cars to find in the Americas. And when you try to find a part, you will spend insanely amount of hours to find.
And have you tried to find parts? What have you done?
I've had to find a fuel injector for the engine. It took me 3 years just to find that. What they do is with the retired taxis is they will sell them off to families, big families, and they'll use them as a family car. And the guy that originally owned this went over there to England and he really liked them. So he bought one and had it shipped to the United States. And he used it for his daughter's wedding. And then he put it in the warehouse, never used it again, covered it in newspaper.
What do you plan to do? You plan to tool to high school on this thing?
Yeah, make a first impression in the first day of school.
He actually already knows how to drive it. He drives it around my parents' neighborhood. They live back in the country, so he drives it around the neighborhood. He's already got it mastered with the right-hand drive and the stick shift, so I think he's well on his way.
The car is really cool. The story's even more cool, and congratulations.
Thank you.
You're a young man on his way to a fun time in the classic car hobby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry, we had an awful lot of 1924 Nashes to sort through tonight here in the parking lot. We picked yours on Camaro night.
Well, I appreciate that.
How long have you had this big, long, cool car?
I've had this car 4 years, and I bought it in just about the same shape it's in.
Where'd you find it?
Found it in Garfield Heights.
And it was just sitting there looking this good.
Yeah, it was in a garage filled with dust, that's all.
Other than dust, what have you done with it since you've had it?
We did a valve job, did a brake job, and we replaced the top.
It's pretty light work considering 1924.
Well, the car was restored in 1970. It was a frame-off restoration by the previous owner.
They did a pretty nice job then.
I think he did a great job.
Well, what have you discovered about a 1924 Nash since you've owned it?
Not a lot. There's not a lot of them around. I can't even find a part on eBay or even in Nash Club publications. It's very hard to find parts. It's a very rare car.
What have you done then in the situations where you might need a part?
We made a propeller shaft for the water pump that my friend made in his machine shop. And if you have to buy a part, you can't. You got to make them.
Good luck.
Yeah.
What attracted you to this car? I can't imagine you were in search of a 1924 Nash, but you might have been in search of a cool old car from the 20s.
Well, I grew up in a Packard Phaeton, and I always wanted a big Phaeton. And I was lucky I stumbled across this, and I was able to get it.
Do you have the side curtains and everything else?
Everything. Everything for this car is here.
You know, people don't realize sometimes that the Phaetons not only were, convertibles, but kind of closed up once you pulled down the side curtains and everything else. It's not like having glass windows, but it is still a nice ride.
In the fall, I've had the side curtains on, and it's pretty good. You can drive it in 40, 50 degree weather.
Doesn't bother you too much?
Nope, still fun.
You have a bunch of cars?
I have this and a 28 Buick Roadster.
So you kind of like the vintage, the 20s era. Why?
It's just a neat era, not a lot of them around, and they're fun. I'm not restoring it, I just want to keep it clean and mechanically sound, and drive it and enjoy it.
Sure, you want your classic to look great. However,
sometimes there's plating processes, there's coatings that, are a fortune to do.
but there are alternatives. Under the Hood is next on Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte.
Sally, Tina, Betsy, you've developed quite a bond with your classic car. Let the consignment professionals at RK Motors Charlotte make the selling process as painless as possible. Through precision marketing and large customer base, we all but guarantee a sale at maximum value, and we don't get paid until your car sells. We've sold over 1,500 classic cars here at RK Motors Charlotte, and now we'd like to get to know Betsy, at least for a little while. Visit rkmotorscharlotte.com.
Under the Hood is presented by RK Motors Charlotte, specializing in the sale, build, and restoration of world-class collector vehicles.
With Mike Velek, the restoration manager here at RK Motors Restoration. What do we have, art class here today?
Yeah, we're going to do a little art project for you here,
Nice.
Jeff, and show you some of the ways that make me look good. Sometimes there's plating processes, there's coatings that, you know, are a fortune to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, so how do you
Not spend a fortune and make it look good?
Make it look right.
Nice.
You nailed it perfect there. Here's one of the things that's a common, the plating. This cadmium plating and everything, that nice gold look everybody wants. Well, it's expensive to send it out, and one of the biggest parts in your engine compartment, that brake booster. They make a phony looking plating where if you learn the technique and you play with it a little bit, you can take with these 3-step can of paint and then a little bit of clear coat, and you spray the whole thing gold. You use this little touch of green and touch of red tint over the gold, clear coat it, and the shinier you get that clear coat to give it some depth, you can fool some people with some plating, especially from a distance. And even if you don't fool them for plating, it still looks fairly correct.
Mm-hmm.
Just to not go to that $100,000 restoration, but maybe you want that nice driver that you can take to a car cruise. There's your simple step. Then we've got some spatter paints. You know, all your GM muscle cars had this spatter paint to them.
In what part of the car?
In the trunk.
In the trunk.
This is for your trunk compartment. You've got your aqua and black, you've got the white and gray, and it's just a textured coating. Now this stuff is water soluble, so if you've got bad seals on your trunk and you take all that time to spray up your trunk real good and then you wash it and the water goes through your seals,
Right.
it's all gonna lift right off.
Nice.
But they make a clear coat that'll protect that too, and it's specially made for trunks. Then we've got like your Lumablast here. Your Lumablast, under the hood, perfect example of how that would work. Your alternator. Most cars, that alternator's right there in your face, top of the motor. They're always oxidized, just look old and dingy. Right there, gives it the appearance of a fresh cast aluminum piece. Another one here with your clear zinc. One of my favorites is this detail gray. This recreates the look of natural steel, but gives it a protection so it's not natural steel, that the minute it gets a change in humidity and it gets a little bit of rust on it, this is gonna kind of help that from happening. Wonderful product. Your cast gray, same thing. You know, anything that was cast iron look, you know, we use this on steering boxes a lot. After they're all restored and redone, it makes it look brand new. We have a phosphate recreation of these two here. A dark phosphate and a medium phosphate. Now, GM hood hinges, or the hood springs and hinges, they're a phosphate coating from the factory. And I had this car at a car show. The judge has got his book and he comes up to my hood hinges there and the springs, and he's marking it off and he looks at them, and Jeff, he got that spring, it was in his face. He's right up there and he's looking, and he looks at me and he looks at that spring and he goes, that's not phosphate, that's a coating, isn't it? That's a paint. And I said, and here I'm thinking,
Yeah, you got me.
You got me. He says, I'm not marking you off points for that, because this was a high-end show. And he said, I'm not marking you off points for that because it looked that perfect.
Wow.
So, and then your blacks. Here's your other. Black is not black. People will tell you, oh yeah, it's just black, paint it black. No.
Wrong.
Wrong. Mopars are real intricate about it, and some of the GMs are 30% black, 10% black, 60% black, and what that is the gloss factor. So here's we've got a flat black, and the flat black usually, by flat, means absolutely no sheen. There's no reflective ability to it, there's nothing. Then you get into like a trim black, which is not quite semi, but not quite flat. It's a perfect in between. And then you get into your semi-glosses, where a semi-gloss does have not much reflective ability, but you're starting to get deeper, you're starting to get a shine. And then your next one would be gloss, which I didn't do a representation of because I think we all know what gloss black looks like. You can look like a king with simple spray paints. It's a lot of nice things you can reproduce with this right here.
Under the Hood is presented by RK Motors Charlotte, specializing in the sale, build, and restoration of world-class collector vehicles. Visit our website at rkmotorscharlotte.com.
When it comes to restoring or servicing your classic or high-performance car, expertise is the name of the game. And that's precisely what you'll find at RK Motors. You'll find our expertise in the attention to detail that can only be acquired through years of working on world-class builds. You'll also find our expertise in the RKM Performance Center, where we've assembled a team of highly qualified ASE certified mechanics. When expertise is the name of the game, trust the experts at RK Motors. Visit rkmotorscharlotte.com.
Now back to Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte.
Joe, I took one look at your Volvo and then saw the words street rod on it, and I thought, I'll bet Volvo never put that there, but boy, you sure created something really cool here. What exactly is this?
It's a 1958 Volvo Wagon. It's a two-door wagon. Built originally on a truck frame. It was a quarter-ton truck for utility, and we modified it a little bit. We put a modern suspension on the front end with disc brakes up front, and now that I could get disc brakes to stop the power, we dropped a 350 Chevy crate motor in it with a 700 R4 tranny with a shift kit and a Corvette servo with a 3-link rear end. This car with these tires on it did 101 miles an hour, 13.3 at dragway 42.
And you were driving it?
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Oh my. When did you find this?
In 1986. I looked in Hemmings Motor News. I was looking for one, and the fellow was out in New Jersey. And I told him I had no way to test the car, so I told him I would give him what he wanted for it and pay for his flight home if he drove it to me. And I did, and it worked out. Drove the car for a couple years, and then I decided to take it apart and restore it, and found out that the body was too rough. So then my sister lives in Phoenix, and I found from this part back, which I affectionately call the body tub, and went out there and got it and brought it back, and it's been a 10-year project. And it's not tub, so the back wheels, they're only about 6 inches wide. That's all you can get under the fenders.
Now Joe, explain the interior to me. I like it, I really do, the red and white stripes, but I'm not quite sure what to think of it.
50s, baby, 50s. It's a surfer wagon.
Now it's a 1958 Volvo.
Well, it was imported. Volvo had started to bring them in late 56, 57. These were rare, very rare. There's not 53 of these on record known to exist in this country, and I don't know, imagine less than 3 or 4 with a V8 in them. I know of one other fella in California that has a V8 in his Volvo, because they have a frame under them, they're not unibody. It's got cruise, tilt, and air.
Nice.
My wife will not get in it unless it had air.
Well,
so,
sure, yeah.
No, but it's a fun car to drive. It goes down the road straight, and we go all over in it. It's just a blast.
You know, we walked all around here tonight in Solon, and I found only one 2010 car that had been completely torn apart by its owner and repainted because he wanted it to look like a movie car. But it looks great. I mean, I love it.
That would be me.
Yeah, that would be you.
That would be
nicely done, though.
Thank you.
And some great nights, or great cars here on Camaro night, which is really, really cool. For you, especially.
And definitely my kind of crowd of cars.
Yeah. It's great to see you out at a show rather than in the shop working your tail off like always.
Absolutely. I hope we can do more.
I think we should. We'll see you at a show sometime soon.
Absolutely, Jeff.
That'll do it for this edition of Cruise In. I'm Jeff Phelps. He's Mike Velek, and we're presented by
RK Motors Charlotte.